his whole life. He has his entire life.
I know you're super emotional. I just,
of course I am. I'm terrified.
I'm telling you, the political reality is that when they made that decision,
it doesn't matter. But you don't admit to me that Donald Trump hates veterans.
In this video, we're featuring a couple of times the GOAT, Scott Jennings, put CNN shills in their place. As usual, Scott Jennings calmly dismantles CNN's liberal feelings-based arguments with facts and data. With that, let's watch Scott Jennings crush the clowns at CNN and their woke agenda.
Look, if you look at the arc of the Biden presidency, he was in really good shape until August of 2021. When Afghanistan happened, he went under 40, she went under 40, and they really lived there until the end of the presidency. He's still there.
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because he ran and told us that the adults were back in charge, and that was the opposite.
Yeah, they
of
were
that.
because Donald Trump was a child.
And you know what else?
Yeah.
And you know what else?
The
fact that they wouldn't give these 13 service members' families the time of
bullshit,
day.
dude.
Time of day.
I'm sorry, but Donald Trump hates veterans. He called them suckers and losers. He did. He absolutely, despite he has his whole life. He has his entire life.
I know you're super emotional. I just,
of course I am. I'm terrified.
I'm telling you, the political reality is that when they made that decision,
it doesn't matter. But you don't admit to me that Donald Trump
decision,
hates veterans. You don't admit it. You deny a man, Chief John Kelly, a Marine. You deny. You say he lied.
You're still campaigning.
You say he lied.
It's
not over. It'll never be over. It'll never be over. You wish.
The political reality is when they made that decision and everyone realized, oh my gosh, these aren't the competent adults that we were promised.
Donald Trump is.
And then when you pile on top of it.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
The decisions that made inflation worse, it was a compounding interest of political crap over time that they could never get out of. And that's how she lost the race.
There was a bipartisan consensus to get out of Afghanistan. That wasn't the point. It was the way it was
Trump's
done.
decision to get out.
Hold on. It was the implementation. It was the fact that they took out our soldiers first instead of last, which is you would think would be common sense. And again, it's like you said, we thought the adults were in the room. That's why people voted for Biden. A return to normalcy, a return to competence. He's a lifelong public servant. We thought we're going to get normal, we're going to get competent. And that's what
we did. We did. And if in the veterans community,
Afghanistan doesn't signal that.
The wars in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, the Republican policies that led to those wars, the idea that Joe Biden made the final difficult decision, and his administration and his military leaders. I mean, you guys live on the tippy top of bullshit mountain. If you actually think that so many people think that the pullout of Afghanistan was the pivot point, are you kidding me?
I mean, I can read a chart and I can read a poll. I guess you can't. But the reality is when he made that decision.
Your petty insults
when he made
are so weak, dude. You have no idea. Like, I don't even understand if you hear yourself talking.
Look,
you can laugh all you want, but like, I can't read a chart. Like, it's
just a second.
It's so hacky. It's so uninteresting.
Look, the reason that we brought this up is because
this clip is so analogous to the right and the left, the temperaments. Scott's just sitting there chuckling, knowing that the facts are behind his argument. And I had to look up the other guy. He's apparently a comedian. Doesn't seem very funny to me. Pete Dominic. He is so freaking emotional. He says, "You petty insults." Dude, you just said that they all live on the top of bullshit mountain. So who started with the insults? How old is the narrative getting that Donald Trump hates servicemen and women? He attended the memorial for the 13 men and women lost in Afghanistan. Joe Biden didn't have time to show up. And then when he was at their original memorial, if you recall, he was checking his watch. So he really has a ton of respect for them. If anybody questions Donald Trump's love for our military members, just go on the internet and look up interactions with him and families of fallen soldiers or injured soldiers. He's not doing a photo op with them. He takes time with them, speaks with them, listens to them talk about their loved one and all the wonderful things they have to say about them. He takes his time. Joe Biden, first of all, doesn't know where he is half the time, but it's clear he couldn't be bothered with honoring 13 members of our military that died in the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. And yeah, Pete, it was a pivot point. There weren't many people out there that were saying, we did a great job of getting out of Afghanistan. So relax. By far my favorite moment in there, though, is when Pete Dominic is freaking out and Scott Jennings says, I understand you're emotional. He goes, you're darn right I'm emotional. It's like, dude, he was making fun of you. He's saying you're a girl and you're acknowledging that. It's not a good thing to be emotional. Be embarrassed. Be very embarrassed. Anyway, let's go back to the video.
Why is she being bullied?
Why is that wrong?
Why is she being bullied for acknowledging something that's smart, truth, and factual?
Well, a couple things. Number one, whether you're an athlete or anyone else, if I hear you use the phrase "my truth," I immediately then discount everything else you say, because there isn't my truth or your truth. There's just the truth. And when you start using phrases like that, it tells me that
That's not true.
Your brain has been captured by something that I don't really respect.
That's not true.
Number two.
That's not true.
Number two, the attention the league got this year was amazing, and it was all because of her. She is an amazing player. The arenas were full when she played in them. The TV ratings were up when she was on television. That's undeniable. But the league still lost like $40 million this year. And it's never made money. And to me, when you're talking about having respecting people who built something, what did they build? A league that loses money every year? She has the capacity.
What do you mean?
To
what did they build? What do you mean? What did they build?
What kind of a business did they build?
The reason why it's still up and still running, whether it's losing money or not, is because of these black women who are in this.
Isn't it because of the investors?
No, Scott, stop it. You stop it now.
It's not. I was in Dickie's arena.
Who pays for it?
I was in Dickie's arena. Let me just say.
How about this? How about we just say these women built the league, not these black women? Why is it so important to some people to be identified by their skin color or other immutable characteristics? I wouldn't want somebody to say, if I built up a huge business that had a ton of success, that white man really built up that company. Or I don't care what race I was. I wouldn't want to be identified that way. This woman who Scott Jennings is arguing with, you can see where her brain is broken when he says, when I hear somebody say my truth, I kind of immediately turn off because I know they've been captured by something I don't want to interact with. The whole time she's going, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. What's not true about it? People that don't understand the concept of the truth and not the truth, something is one or the other. How do they get a platform on a major news network? That blows my mind. I was always the first one in line to clown on the WNBA, how they never make any money. The majority of their players were super unlikable and just wanted to be men and act like men. It wasn't interesting. The basketball was a boring game to watch, just full of mistakes and just bad, even fundamental basketball, which you think if you're not dunking and doing all these crazy, insane athletic moves, you think the fundamentals would be on lock, because people watch women's college basketball. It's funny. I even when I was ripping the WNBA constantly, I actually got into some women's college basketball games because they were a team. It wasn't about these individual personalities and complaining constantly about everything and pay and this and that. Go put a good product on the court and people will pay to see you. I don't care what anybody says. All of their success this past season was due to Caitlin Clark. Everyone should be kissing the ground that she walks on. This has nothing to do with black and white. She's insanely likable. She doesn't get caught up in the politics and the bait that the media tries to put out for her. And most importantly, she can ball like a mother effer. She's unbelievable, man. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
It says more about the people who are getting offended by it than her.
I think they're just disappointed that she appears to have been captured by the woke mob.
You don't like the
She's
way
being
Here's the disappointment.
It's the white privilege. Let him articulate this because I want to learn something.
I feel a little bad for her because she's going to learn that it will never be enough. No matter how much of the phrasing, no matter how much of the groveling you do, it will never be enough for the people in that league that hate her guts.
Why do you assume
they hate her guts?
Why do you assume that she is trying to pander? Isn't it
because
also,
I hear the language. It's the language of the pander. I hear the phrase white privilege. Sports is the one place where nobody on the field has any privilege at all. She doesn't get extra points when she shoots because she's white. She gets the same number of points as anybody else. Sports is the great equalizer, and it just felt like to a lot of people that she was groveling for no reason, because she is an amazing player who deserves all the accolades she's getting right now for doing what she's doing for women's basketball.
All right,
Scott Jennings is the best. I mean, what else can I really add on to what he said? He is so right. And this is what I say about most activist groups and the left and Democrats in general. No matter what you give them when they're fighting for a quote unquote cause, no matter how ridiculous it is, when you concede a little bit to them, it's never enough. And so this conversation is clearly happening after, I don't know, a couple months ago, Caitlin Clark, after again avoiding all the pitfalls of kowtowing to the woke mob, made some comment about all the black women, not just women, black women that paved the way for her. People were disappointed because we liked that she was unashamedly herself and didn't say things just to appease people. I appreciated that. I wasn't mad at her, maybe a little disappointed because, like Scott said, no matter what she does, they're going to hate her. And not because she's a racist, because of her skin color, though. They're going to hate her. Most of the women in that league, and I say most, not all, but most, are so entitled and feel like all of the attention should just be on them 24 hours a day, and they can't stand when somebody else takes away their shine. And this past season, one person took all the shine. When the Indiana Fever got knocked out of the playoffs and the finals of the WNBA, no one was watching them. I mean, it dropped, I won't even say a percentage, a large percentage. People weren't even paying to go to those games. But, people were getting insane amounts for a ticket just to see Caitlin Clark play in a regular season game. So don't get it twisted. Caitlin Clark is the reason that league had any sort of resurgence. But we want to hear from you. What did you think about these conversations Scott Jennings had with these CNN clowns? Let us know. Anyway, as always, we really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.